Right. I'm streaming again with asking for new left and having a cat here. We may get some more people joining. I think.
Hmm.
Um. Right. The importance of the subject is extremely significant. Everyone's neglecting this subject. What do we do after Brexit? The Conservative Party, we get nothing. The Labour will get a bit more from the manifesto, but not much else. More.
Hmm.
And this is give an open goal basically to our favourite FPVs. Uh,
Oh
it's
yeah.
it's probably the most important thing about the Brexit debate is what we do after. We
Oh
can
yeah.
talk about a deal all day long,
Yeah.
but what's more important is what we do after we leave the EU with the power to be obtained.
Hmm.
And I don't know what we're going to do.
Oh yeah.
Um, there's so many things we could do post Brexit.
Yeah. It's like you always bring up the John Mills plan, for example.
Yes, that is one example. We've got to ask ourselves this: what plan do people have? Because
Yeah, I
people
mean,
in power
yeah,
have
I
no
mean,
idea what to do.
exactly. I mean, that's why they're not. That's why you see on the polls they're 40-40 exactly divide because they're bickering about Brexit, but none of them provide an actual vision for what they want this country to be. It's all about bickering about Brexit, isn't it?
Well,
I've
it
not
is.
seen any plan really.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's why people say that's why I still predict that it's the polls, unless people have a post-Brexit plan, it's always going to be a 40-40 split exactly between the two parties.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Right, people say that MPs have access to privy to more information, they're more educated, so they can make decisions for us. But the issue is, do they have a clue what they're on about or doing?
No.
I think we can get people on the street and come up with a more credible plan than the MPs in Parliament. And this is the sorry state of our politics.
I mean,
this is why I'm here, because it's insane.
Yeah.
No one's come up with any plan. End of the day, it's probably because they want to remain.
Exactly. I mean, like, let's just throw Brexit under a rug so we can just forget about it. That's their plan, isn't it?
Yeah, well, they're just like, a chook, aren't they? Go stick their head in the sand and...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and you hear about this the transition bullshit, That's what it is. Delay, 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 isn't it?
Yeah, but I don't understand it. I mean, if we, say the three of us sat down, I reckon we could give them a plan.
Yeah.
I think we could. It's a man of the situation. I honestly think they're avoiding this on purpose.
Oh yeah.
Especially the Labour Party, and who's the minds in the Labour Party who actually know what we should do after Brexit.
Yeah.
Also in the Conservative Party, there are a minority that think of plans.
Yeah,
I mean, but I'm going to bring up John Redwood and his blogs, where he actually details an actual economic plan. But
yeah, and I mean, you look at, and people love to say, don't they, that we have no, like the Leave campaigns have no plan, but the truth is, the main campaigns you got Vote Leave and Leave.eu, they didn't, whereas you had, I think the Labour Leave and a couple of others actually had a plan, didn't they?
A more of a plan.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, the Leave campaign was a mix of grassroots, very amateur politicians.
Oh yeah.
Who would never have a chance of getting any closer to power. So, and that's the main issue of it.
Yeah.
How many big protests were overwhelming Leave voting through Leavers?
Yeah. I mean,
you can.
Yeah. So, for an example, let's just take Labour Leave. I think it was actually John Mills and Brendan Chiltern who ran it, and one of the guys is an economist and businessman. The other guy's a Labour councillor, so they're not really high-ranking politicians, are they? Yeah, but
she was co-chair into.
She was co-chair, but I meant like she might have been chair, but I meant like Mills and Chiltern actually ran the campaign. They were out campaigning the most. That's what I'm trying to say. They were sort of the faces of the campaign. Whereas, you didn't really, at least on a left-wing Leave campaign, you didn't see any actual big politicians on platforms, apart from, say, Dennis Skinner and George Galloway, for example. Let's say just those two. But apart from those two, you didn't really see any, did you?
No, we didn't.
Sorry.
And the reason is because there's a bit of illusion at the left that the left is somehow pro-EU, which is not entirely true.
Oh, did you see? We were talking about this on the bullet chat, weren't we? About the fact that FBP are turning reluctant Remainers into proper hardcore leavers, weren't they?
Yeah.
Well, they were.
I mean, it's backfiring, isn't it? Because FBP, the whole point is to brainwash everyone into voting Remain, isn't it? Whereas, you know, they're doing the opposite, aren't they? Basically.
Well, I think it's really showing just how.
What's the word?
You know,
aren't they very sort of was condescending is the right word? I don't know. Like, you know how they're very full of themselves and they're like, you do as I tell you, I know better, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, but also I think they're just showing up just how bad the EU is, you know, how sort of authoritarian and
exactly. And what I don't understand is like when the thing is they have all these, you know, they can bring articles from the Guardian or whatever, but once you bring up, you know, the actual sort of problems with the EU and sort of democratic sovereignty, then they sort of shut up, don't they?
Yeah, and also the average person in the UK is very, you know, they expect everybody to have an equal say on the whole. Not everybody, obviously, but I think on the whole, UK people are very democratic.
Oh, yeah.
And the FBPE people aren't, and they want to lay down.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And I mean, it's like, take me for example. I'm more than happy for, you know, James and Angels to express their, you know, out of touch liberal views when it comes to Brexit. But say if I was sort of reverse FBP, I wouldn't allow them to do that, would I? You know?
Yeah. Well,
no, and say what they like. But
yeah, exactly.
What the FPB say?
It doesn't convince you.
Oh, we'll change our mind now, so we can vote again.
Yeah.
But as far as I can tell, but the problem is with the polls they bring up, they're in echo chambers, aren't they? They've got the Guardian, the Independent, the pro-Remain papers, don't they? Like the New European, they suit it for their echo chambers, don't they?
They always bring up YouGov as well, which is owned by a Tory.
Oh yeah.
And no one ever mentions that.
Oh yeah.
No, these posters actually have their own agendas.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like how you saw in the last election they downplayed the Labour surge, didn't they?
Yeah.
Well, they did. They downplayed about Labour.
And unfortunately, the FBPE side have got the money on their side. You know, they've got the EU and
they've got you know, Blair, Soros, those sorts of people.
Yeah, and they're all prepared to spend hard cash to get their own way. And I think...
Oh, yeah, and I heard something like, I think Tony Blair Institute or something, you know, Blair's sort of company, they were funding a couple of youth Remain campaigns, I think. I saw on his Twitter.
Oh, they did a while ago. I did put the source for it, that if Blair and Mendelssohn, every single time they stand up and say something in Parliament, well, not Blair in Parliament, but, you know.
But, you know, like open written speeches or whatever.
Yeah, they get 25,000 from the EU.
Really? I know Blair. I heard something like Blair, not so much EU-wise, but general speeches. You know, when he goes around the world and does all his bullshit speeches,
oh, yeah.
he gets, like, I've heard 400 grand or something for each speech he does.
Well, Cameron got 100,000 when he did a speech soon after he resigned.
Oh yeah, I think it's about 130,000. I think I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous.
After that one speech, he goes around America that actually on politics and people pay him.
Oh yeah,
ridiculous amount of money. One question I want to ask people is, what would you do in a post-Brexit economy? Like, say if you were like the Chancellor or the Prime Minister, what plan would you have? I think this is a question I should ask people.
Well, yeah, I mean, what we need to do is we need to tame globalization by building up our manufacturing industries and actually putting money into the heartlands, you know? We need to actually tame globalization by doing that, you know?
Sorry.
I think the key is managing our tariffs.
Oh, yeah.
I hate to praise Trump, but he's serious American first when it comes to tariffs.
Like, I mean, exactly. But people, I've seen this on Twitter, and when I say to people, you know, when I'd much rather leave the EU and put our country first, and they're like, oh, you're some sort of xenophobe nationalist, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, yeah. But that is what we should not.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
shouldn't be
It's not
xenophobic,
It's
but
not racism to put your country first when it comes to the economy and stuff like that, you know.
it's helping your own people. And if
And
every
exactly, I mean,
country,
the problem with the Tories and the Blairites is they're the why they want to remain is they'd much rather have cheap labour than to train their own people. That's why you have mass, you know, 373,000 people coming to the UK, and yet they up the tuition fees, don't they?
yeah, and also you look at them, and they all own property and
Oh yeah.
whatever in Europe, so they're all thinking of their own
No,
investment
exactly. You've
and
got
how much money
you've got like
they've got
the
coming in.
Tory Remainers who have like 2 villas in Spain and France, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and that's their whole argument is we can't get backwards and
who
forwards.
have that sort of money say, oh, I'm looking out for the young. They need free movement. When, you know, no, you need free movement. It's not the young. I think most of them, are, you know, want to do other things rather than worry about Brexit, don't they?
Yeah, and you've got the proportion of Europeans living over here. I think I mentioned I've got a German friend, and her whole attitude is she gets a German pension as well as a British one.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And you know, it's going to. She's got property over here, but she wouldn't become British because we're dirty.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, she doesn't want her safe little double haven where she can pop back to Germany and come here and make money out of all of it.
And people say that, oh, the rich people that back Brexit all are applying for French passports, whatever. But if you look, I'd say the Remain politicians, actually, I think a lot more of them are, but it's not being reported in the news.
No. But how many of them, if you actually said to, like, I mean, I've said to FBPEs before, if we're so bad here and Europe's so great, and you've got free movement, and you've got free right to live in other countries, why are you living in the UK?
Exactly, but then again, they'll bust out the line, "Oh, you're racist for telling me to go back home," you know, that sort of thing.
Exactly. Why should I go somewhere else?
No, but exactly, that's what I've said to people before. If you hate the UK so much and love the EU, you still have 2 more years to go and live there, you know.
Yeah.
Well, actually, yeah, 2 more years. Yeah, 2021, I think, free movement will end. So they've got until 2021 to move.
Yeah, exactly. They can go, you know, why haven't they gone before? Why are they living here?
But then again, it's I don't know. Is it just playing down your own country, man? I guess it's that sort of mentality of I'm better than you. You know?
Yeah, I think that's where we differ from Americans. Americans are very
nationalist,
able and and they can stand
I'll put my own country first. But the problem with us in the EU is we've forgotten the fact we need to put our own people first, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's one of my.
But that's the whole thing about the globalist agenda, isn't it? It's taking power away from the nation state into, you know, multinational organisations like the EU and that sort of thing.
Whereas if every single country looked after their own people, then there wouldn't be the unrest in countries.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing with immigration. You've got, I think I mentioned this on the Bullet Chat yesterday. That's why Merkel let in, 2 million people, because a lot of it was to actually do with the fact she wanted cheap labour for multinational corporations.
Yeah, and to fund their industry.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And also,
that we're not supposed to have.
The thing with the mass migration and the globalist agenda is they're trying to distract from class warfare as well, aren't they? They're trying to sort of silence the working class, aren't they?
Yeah, but just to get back to the money question that Cameron put, I mean, I'd like to see them sitting down, say Labour, you know, sit down and work out how much money we're actually going to have once we're out of the EU. You know, forget dividends, forget whatever.
Oh, yes.
How much money are we actually going to end up with that we're not paying out to the EU? And how can we best distribute that to the rest of the country?
Yeah, and it's and people talk about people love to talk about things like gross and net. I think it's 20 billion gross and 10 billion net. But a lot of these so-called net payments are sort of vanity projects, aren't they?
Yeah. And they're not necessarily, you know, we can save ourselves heaps of money that we can then put into projects of our own choosing within
like,
the
why
UK.
not? Exactly. Like, instead of spending on these vanity projects, like, I don't know, like, let's say statues or, you know, stuff like the EU wants to sort of fund and, you know, that sort of thing. But why can't we spend on, say, you know, sending working class kids to university and make sure they don't pay tuition fees or get into debt? Why don't we do that instead?
Yeah, I mean, it's all very well us giving money to the EU and then paying it out to places like Cyprus and that for their roads because they haven't got.
I think it was. I remember one of my favourite Nigel Farage quotes from, I think it was from 2005, where he said, "Why should we be paying for new sewers in Budapest, a new underground system in Warsaw, when our own public services are crumbling in London?"
Exactly. It's different if we were
but
really
then again, people
hill.
said to him, I remember after he said that, people were like, "Oh, he's racist," or whatever.
Yeah, that's exactly what they say. But all our infrastructure is getting old.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about this before with nationalisation. Like, we're selling it off, aren't we, to the EU?
Yeah. Yeah, it's German company owns.
Yeah, German, French, Dutch company. I think it's German, French, and Dutch companies are the main ones, I think.
And they're probably buying it up even more before Brexit.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing with the EU. People say, "Oh, the EU is for workers' rights, it's for this and that," but in fact, if you look at the so-called four freedoms, the freedom movement of, I think it's capital goods, labour, and services, isn't it? And I think they're actually exploiting that to actually buy up British assets, aren't they?
Yeah. And they're doing that because they know they won't be able to after Brexit.
And exactly, and that's why a lot of people on the left campaign for it, because I think it was Jeremy Corbyn's brother who said the EU and the single market is designed to asset strip the British economy.
Yeah. Well, they just want to make
and that's why you saw Thatcherism, especially. She was very big on the single market, wasn't she? And she used a lot of that to, you know, to sell everything off. She did a lot of it through that. She saw it as a tool, didn't she, for privatisation? Yeah, and then she, obviously, free movement of labour, she implemented, I think it was in 86, and I think the year before that, the EU introduced Schengen area, so, and I think it was all part of that agenda to sell everything off and then, you know, import cheap labour so they could, you know, just undermine the working class, really. Yeah, but we've ended up with Germany really controlling the EU. Oh, yeah. And how come? But then again, it was always a Germany/France project, wasn't it? It was always about those two countries. Yeah, but Germany's become the superpower, really. Oh yeah, but then again, France isn't Macron basically Merkel's bitch though, isn't he? Yeah. Yeah, there's no way he'd let the French people have a vote. No, because he said on, like, every time he's asked, he said, yes, the French would vote to leave, but I won't let them. Yeah. So isn't that being a dictator? Basically, but then again, it's you've seen here in the UK too, like when people have demanded referendums. I think it was on Lisbon when. Was it in Labour's manifesto or something? And then they didn't do it. Yeah. Wasn't it Gordon Brown who said he'd give him a referendum, but then he's like, fuck it, I won't give him, I just pass it through. Yeah. I think that's happened a couple of times.
Yeah, Gordon Brown actually stopped Blair, actually put us in the Euro.
Oh yeah, he did.
Without a referendum.
He did, yeah. Because wasn't it the 5 tests, I think?
Yeah.
But then again, there's really funny. There's so many tests when it comes to the EU and Brexit, isn't it? You've got David Davis with his 3 tests. You've got Theresa May with her 5 tests. You've got Keir Starmer with his 6 tests. It's just like, what? Yeah. So if you added them all together. I mean, it would be like, there's no point, you know, their tests would probably amount to the legislation we got from the EU in like the past year, wouldn't it? Yeah. But I mean, I think you've only got to look at like Grieve and Soubry standing at the barrier of the House of Lords, listening to them yesterday. Oh yeah, I always make the joke about Dominic Grieve. Why don't we just leave him to grieve over the referendum result?
Well, yeah, I think the pair of them we should send to you.
Yeah. And then, but it's Anna Soubry, isn't it? She always makes the case, oh, I want to support the young when it comes to Brexit. No, you don't. It's your own little interest, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's just her grandstanding. And
Well,
I mean, but when it comes down to
give a
it,
shit about the young. It's just the Remainer Tories. All they care about is themselves.
yeah. All I hope is today the Tory whips and the Labour whips are going
But
round.
wasn't it? Isn't there a vote tomorrow or something?
Yeah.
Or is it today?
No, it's tomorrow.
Vote
but,
on the amendment tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, but they've got all day today, the whips, haven't they, to dig up the dirt. Because that's what they'll do to use as not blackmail, but you know, to make them toe the.
Yeah, but then what's the saying? Like tomorrow could bring down the government or something. I don't know, something like that.
Well, that's what they're hoping, isn't it? And this is the trouble. People like Soubry and that they'd love it. They don't want May.
If they bring down the government, then they're gonna end up with a no deal anyway.
And not only that, it's quite likely that there'd be a general election if they bring down the government.
Yeah. Right. What I'm going to do is share a very interesting article by John Mills, and then I'll show another one about the single market.
He has some great stuff on the Labour Leave website, isn't he? There's great stuff on there and a few other websites.
Yeah, there's some good things on there.
All right, I'll have a look. Yeah, I'll just
let's see. Right, you see it here?
Yeah.
This is from John Mills. So it's in the UK's long-term interests to be outside the single market, but to secure a trade deal with the EU, argues John Mills.
Well, wasn't he arguing for something like Canada Plus, or just more of a simple trade deal?
Yeah, so something very similar to Canada.
Yeah.
But then again, you've got the FBP and the Ramonas saying like, oh, we can't have Canada, we need to have single market membership, you know?
And this is key. So the UK stay in the single market as a part of our Brexit negotiations. On balance, the city might favour this of course of action. Right? So the economy is ready to focus on the city of London. That's key. Which is why there's so many regional inequalities.
Oh yeah.
And it appears Philip Hammond, the man himself, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, is following their lead. Or he has been.
But he's been I mean, people have been asking for him to be sacked for the past couple of years, haven't they? Already. Yeah.
During the last election, the rumour was that Tuesday was sacking in favour of another Conservative MP. I forgot his name now, but he lost his seat in that election. Pursuing this course, acting successfully, will come at a heavy cost, which it will. Electorally, the Conservatives will get smashed. We've got Sorgan off UKIP out there now.
Yeah.
But good article. Another thing I want to mention here. Being in the single market implies the acceptance of huge numbers of regulations and directives justiciable by the European Court of Justice, which a majority of businesses in the UK would very much like to see reduced.
Yeah, and most of it is small businesses, aren't they? Most businesses in the UK, as far as I can tell, don't trade with the single market, do they?
The regulations, some of the regulations are needed, like let's say climbing a ladder, the regulations like climbing a ladder or shipping a banana. It's
and there's I think I heard when in the referendum, I think it was something like a fishmonger was forced to pay £10,000 in terms of £10,000 for EU regulations to say the fact his salmon contained fish or something.
Yeah. They charge them for absolutely stupid regulations.
Yeah, but then again, it's all protecting big business, so you can work around them, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's protecting the EU as well.
Well, they do favor big businesses, and the basically shaft small businesses, and that's key about it. We should take this by case in case basis, though. We can't just get rid of all regulations. Lots of them would be a lot of trouble if we got rid of them.
Yeah.
Which the four wings of the Tory Party do want to get rid of. Should get rid of all of them. Some are actually quite good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I wouldn't get rid of the stuff when it comes to, say, the time directive and all that, but when it comes to actual product regulation and stuff, I would agree. I would get rid of some of that. Therefore, very different.
Huge thought. Right. So how long would it take? Norway decided not to join the EU in 1972.
Yeah.
It took less than 8 months for Norway to negotiate a trade deal with the EU. Now, who talked about Norway and this? Right, the single market and customs, but it took them 8 months. If you hear the people media, they never talk about that.
Oh yeah.
What perspective that they come on across?
And that was a bespoke trade deal. I had a look at this, and this was before they joined the European Economic Area. This was before that.
Yes, and what the media tends to tell us, it took kind of 9 years. It's going to take us a long time to do it.
Oh yeah, but I was reading about this, and apparently it's a lot of countries within the EU that have their own interests at heart. I mean, what's the point of having the EU negotiate trade deals with us, because we're going to be in conflicts of interest, aren't we?
Yeah. What's key about all of this is that you need to have a plan. This is part of the stream.
Yeah.
You can't get a quick trade without a plan. We don't know what we're doing. And we need a complete clean out to what's important.
But the trouble is that with Norway, they weren't members, and the EU needed something.
Oh yeah, and didn't they have a referendum to join the EU, weren't they? Didn't they?
Well,
Norway and Switzerland had one, didn't they?
They decided not to join, which is why they then did the Norway trade deal.
Yeah, the European. Well, this was actually. It was. They had the trade deal in '72, like Cameron said. I think then they didn't join the EU in the referendum, and then they had the European Economic Area. I think that's how it went.
Yeah, but the EU wanted to trade with them. Yeah. Whereas with us, they're better off with us in the EU. So they're doing everything.
Also, a big reason of it is actually, it's things like fishing, isn't it?
Yeah, fishing is certainly one of the reasons.
And what I don't understand is, I was watching, I think it was a couple of SNP people who are actually arguing why Scotland should leave the EU and have proper independence. And they actually said, I didn't know this, that Scotland has 60% of the UK's fishing waters. Like, imagine what would happen if Scotland were made to join the EU. Imagine how much they get screwed over when it comes to that.
Yeah, well, there was a tweet this morning which I retweeted, and it was something like they get 4% of the fish and the EU gets all the rest.
Oh yeah, I've heard something like, when it comes to the UK as a whole, I think we have to buy back half of our fish from the EU or something. And I think it's something like the EU has access to about 80% of our waters or something, I've heard.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, I know they were saying with Scotland, weren't they, that I think it was one of the SNP was jumping up and down saying, would you make it longer for our guys to go over and buy fish in Europe, because it takes them 24 hours to bring it back, but if it was 48 hours, the fish should all be rotten. But why are they going over there and buying it? It's probably out.
Jack James says in the side chat, financial crash was cutting red tape. But it depends what the red tape is. You can't just have it all with a blanket, can you? There's good regulation, there's bad regulation. There's not. It's on a individual basis, isn't it? You can't put it all as saying, oh, we need as much regulation as possible, because your economy won't be able to function at all, or you'd be at the prey of big business. Those are the two things that happen. But you can't then have too little regulation, because then you'd go into chaos, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and surely they should be working that out already, shouldn't they?
Well, what
would think.
Don't have a clue. Right. This is important, isn't it? So we would then have to fall back.
Yeah, the Scots would love joining the EU, James. I've heard actually, James, that most of the Scots wouldn't actually accept things like Schengen and freedom of movement, which is a bit funny considering they vote to remain, actually. And also, I think I mentioned, James, that 60% of British fishing is in Scotland. So imagine how much they get fucked over by the EU if they actually joined. So there you go.
This is key. So the World Trade Organization terms total trade with the EU, but over tariff barriers averaging about 3%. Now, this is I talk about the extreme examples about 30%. But this is important. This should not be an insurmountable obstacle, especially if sterling is at a competitive level.
Oh yeah, and also don't forget VAT, because VAT is at 20%, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is key. Being outside the single market does not mean we cannot sell to the EU markets. Just the same way as an example. China and the USA do all the same.
Yeah,
all
but
the time.
then again, I've had a look and people say, oh, we fully trade with only 24 countries outside the EU under WTO. But if you have a look, there are things like China and Russia and America, and like a lot of the stuff, like a lot of our consumer goods are actually bought under WTO, aren't they?
Yeah, so and also if we weren't in the EU, we would trade under a higher proportion. You know, you can't really equate it, can you?
Mm.
Yeah, there's another important point here. So what we use by this approach, there will be some costs which the city might find difficult than it otherwise. So that's key, because the most concerns that people have is about the financial services, which is the main, that's the key of our economic problems in this country. It's the financial services that will suffer the most. So we'll still after Brexit, actually. Even though they've got so much money going through there, it wouldn't put much of a dent in the long term.
I actually read also that recently, I was reading about this, that apparently big business within the EU, you know, all the lobbyists and all that, I think about 30,000 of them, they actually make 70% of the EU regulations and red tape. So I was quite shocked when I read that, actually.
Yeah. Well, it's typical big business, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And that's why they all wanted to remain, you know. They didn't want British business to prosper, did they?
No, but they're all getting their cuts, aren't they? That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
They've got vested interest. You know, they're not in it for the health of the UK.
Exactly. And Jack says this: good test booking regulations. Does the regulation keep workers in the country safe? If yes, then it should stay. Exactly. But we're talking about things like product regulations here. We're talking about directives on things like, what a lamp should have, what a bedding should have. You know, it's not so much about workers, is it?
The shape of a tomato.
Exactly. It's novel things like that. I think it was it Sticer that mentioned something like this on one of his streams, that I think 80% of the fruit and veg in the world we can't have because of e-regulation or something.
Oh yeah, I remember them bringing that in. It was a big news article in Australia. Everyone was laughing at it.
Yeah, and that reminds me actually. When it comes to the Australia trade deal, one of the reasons why it hasn't even really gone that far is that it was something about Italian tomato growers or something.
Yeah, plus all the sort of rules that they want to put on the Australians about what they can and can't trade. I saw that yesterday. There was an article. I didn't get around to actually reading it all. But, they're not very happy, the Australians.
I mean, there are some good regulations. For example, like food standards. I'd say certain things are good. Did I send you the article in the bullet chat a while ago about the fact that in America you're allowed to have fish and seafood that is fed off, I think, pig feces or something.
Yeah, I saw that.
Those things. That's worse than chlorinated chicken, isn't it?
Yeah. Mind you, I think sometimes things like that are pretty overstated. You know, I do wonder just what proportion. And we don't have to do that. You know, we don't have to buy it, do we?
Yeah.
That's the whole point, that we're going to be free to work out our own trade agreements. And if we don't want chlorinated chicken, which heaven forbid.
I mean, I'd more than happily negotiate trade agreements. You know, like my model for a trade agreement would be this: like, first of all, no provisions for privatizing nationalized public service. Whereas trade deals across the EU, I think majority of them are about privatization, aren't they? For example, like you say, CETA and TTIP, the two big ones, they're all about privatization.
Yeah.
And like another thing is, like, when it comes to protectionism, I would put protectionism on British industry while we actually build it up, for example. And we wouldn't be able to do that if we were in the EU, because France and Germany would be like, oh, you know, we protect our industry. You know, you're not allowed to do that. You know, you're not allowed to be better than we are. You know.
No, but don't you think this is where Labour could really
exactly.
missing
I mean,
out?
That's what puzzles me is you've got, like, you could, if you talked about those sorts of things, you could bring both the Remainers and Leavers on board. You know, but the problem is,
if they sat down and spent half as much time as they do on sort of, if we get into power, we'll spend this amount on the NHS or whatever. If they sat down and said, right, if we get Brexit and Labour is in power, we will do X, Y, Z.
But that's what we were talking about earlier, that Labour don't have a post-Brexit vision for the UK. That's what's holding them back.
Right, I got another article.
All right, let's have a look.
Now, this one's the other extreme, the other one I showed. UK households will be up to £1,000 worth off after Brexit report finds. A typical weekly grocery shop will go up by £5.50. Price of the family meal before at High Street chain will increase by £9. And a pair of trainers will become £6.75 expensive. Now, I'll read this, but the first thing we need to look at is this. Now, where do we import our trainers from?
China.
Exactly. China, Taiwan, Indonesia is a big one as well. But why are this going to be more expensive?
Vietnam, that's another big one we import.
Yes, but why does this come up?
Because they're not.
Big thing. So, where did that price increase from? Is it due to some regulation or? I'm a little confused about that one. I mean, because of all the Project Fear and hype.
Oh yeah.
Suppose businesses can use it as an excuse to increase prices, but honestly, what? I don't understand where that came from. So a grocery shop will go up by £5.50.
Yeah. Well, did you see the tweet that an article I posted where the IFC have been proved wrong on all their financial projections so far?
Yeah. I think I saw that one.
Yeah. I mean, this is where people like the Independent, they grab hold of, little gems out of there.
Yeah, but it's all clickbait, isn't it? That's the thing.
So I know your scenario in which UK reverts to World Trade Organization rule. Tariffs would cost UK £27 billion because of increased barriers to trade and high labour costs. Consultancy from Oliver William said, whoever that is. So firstly, we can basically offset most of that by getting rid of VAT, and we'll trade it, so we'll make more from the EU in terms of taxes from tariffs. Secondly, high labour costs. Well, honestly, these companies should take a bit of less profit if we're going to pay people more. It's going to be less cheap labour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should just pay people more. And if you get charged a bit more in the shop, just think a second. If people get paid more money, if we get more workers here, keeping the money in the UK, that money is going to be spent in this country. Now, what I can't really realise is a transfer of money. That drives economic growth. So if we get transfer money in this country between like you going to the shop and spending money in the retail, that money is going back into the economy. So I think they took that out of account with this one. how the cost. I mean, it's very the chances are we're going to have high wages post Brexit in some sort of a Labour government increasing the wage. So
if there's higher labour costs, doesn't that suggest that we're employing more of our own people and less of cheap EU labour?
It means we're close to food employment, which is actually a good thing.
Yeah.
So under World Trade Organization rules, the most favoured nation imports tariffs. The price of a week of goods is picked to go to £5.50. Yeah, so I read that, and basically that is definitely nonsense. I mean, maybe increased labour so in the local shop will increase it a bit, but honestly, we import from Asia. Total cost will be £9.61 per household. That's misleading. It's £1,000 in the article.
Yeah. I mean, these sort of figures are ridiculous, aren't they?
Well, I think they're over-exaggerating. I think there's something if we basically leave the EU and don't do anything or change anything. It may be something to it. But honestly, this is the key. It's so important what we do post Brexit rather than the deal. This is the argument I'm telling everyone. I mean, if we just continue as we are, of course this is going to happen. All right.
Yeah.
Not to. I think they'll be exaggerating, to be honest, but another one here.
There's just so many hypotheticals in their figures. That's the trouble.
Yeah.
They assume this and assume that, and if they've been asked by, a newspaper or whoever that wants it to say we're going to be worse off, then they will assume the worst.
Well, they do. So worst scenario costing £2.45 a year per household. I mean, it is obviously from a biased source and exaggerated, but I think a lot of this can be offset or basically it's nonsense. The trainer, including the price of trailers, certainly is.
I mean, would most people object to paying an extra £245 a year anyway? You expect to pay more each year because prices go up. So, it's not exactly a huge sum.
So, has everyone actually heard of Argentinian beef?
No.
Is this actually a popular food?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is it? Oh, no. I don't know.
Yeah. And beef.
Yeah.
Argentinian beef is expensive because it's supposed to be top quality, but I wouldn't have thought it was 49% more expensive. They used to sell it in Sainsbury's, I think, and there was not a lot of difference.
So it was meant to be top quality. Like
you
in
take a
the
little
beef
bit
in Japan. Wasn't there's nothing to do with the EU. I mean, right, the Irish issue was another one. The trade of Ireland, but to be honest, we got British beef in the shops.
Yeah.
And most people buy British beef.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to make that point now.
People always talk about EU free trade. It's so lovely, but in fact, the EU prevents us from trading really like outside the EU, isn't it? It's it's very inward looking, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's one benefit to All right, this is the beef. Now, if like say Irish beef because it's more expensive, and but basically it encourages people to buy British beef and supporting British farmers.
Yeah.
And if you're talking about agriculture is heavily subsidised and it is by the EU, but could this actually put a boost to our agricultural industry? And what are we wondering now?
Exactly. I mean, if we leave the common agricultural policy, we'll do exactly that.
This comment here, if you can see it.
Let's have a look. I was just in the comment section. It's clearly incompetent. Trainers aren't made in the EU. They generally come from China. Once we leave, I no longer have to pay tariffs to the EU on goods we buy from outside it. Electrical equipment, phones, clothes, bananas, and many others come from outside the EU and will be cheaper. Go back and do it again properly.
Oh. Who put that? Was that your comment, Cameron?
No, that wasn't me. I was looking at it.
No.
Well, it won't be that. Trust me on that. It's not. They even admitted it's like 950, but it won't be that much. Trust me on that. That one.
Nah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And Jack James in the side chat says they're looking at a small data set rather than big picture. But that's how the Remain arguments work. It's very short term, isn't it?
Yeah, and they just jump on whichever set of figures happens to give the best.
Yeah. Oh, it's like they jump on the figures and then they make a clickbait headline, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, you can anyone can fiddle with statistics to make it so exactly what you want it to.
Right, stop screen sharing for now. Because that's the other article I shared earlier. So it is quite interesting to look at these basically articles, which if you look at carefully and look what they said, the basically either overshadowing the situation or basically telling a bit of a lie, especially with the trainers one.
Yeah. Actually, I think it shows that people aren't taken in. You know, there's a lot more people are being analytical about it and look at it in the same light that we do, and you read things. You know, they're not just reading it and accepting every single word they say. It's only the FPP people that are doing that.
Yeah.
And all the official documents have been proved to be inaccurate at best, and just looking at the negative sides. I mean, as I said, that IFC have been consistently saying we're going to be this much worse off, we're going to be that much, and they've, you know.
Yeah, but I think the problem with this is it's It has people say it has an outdated trade model, and it is right. Actually, it's not looking forward. It's just saying, "Oh, our economy is going to be the same forever," you know.
Yeah, and also for the EU, if anyone should be considered racist, it's them, not leavers, because we're looking out to the world, whereas they want to just look within the little EU bubble. You know, they want to build a wall around Europe as far as trade's concerned.
Yeah, exactly.
If they had their way.
They want to keep their so-called single market, isn't it? And then that's it. They don't want to trade with anyone else.
Well, isn't that being xenophobic? And
yeah.
You know, because they're not looking after us. They may be looking after their own, but they're not looking after us.
Yeah. Earlier I mentioned the diary of John Redwood. Now I'm going to share this as well, because an article called "The Benefits of Brexit." It's be interesting to see what it says. Because unlike the rest of the Tories, everyone don't look like him. It does have a slight of a plan, unlike the rest of them. I know. So I'll share that in a minute. So he's talking about the benefits of Brexit. The Prime Minister tells us the government is committed to Brexit and wishes to defend the benefits it brings. This is good news. Let's see. First, I want to know about how all the money is going to be spent. So I think we already know that it's going to be based on the NHS, according to the Tories. Even though I'm a bit sceptical about that one. I have set my own suggestions on spending on health, social care, and other priorities. Spending money at home gives us a 0.6 GDP boost. That's serious for a lot of money in payments deficit. I wonder where to get that from. It probably, if you pay to spend money, it probably will do it, give it a boost to it. Anyways, second, I want to see our new fishing policy to be independent and as we become independent as a coastal state. With a policy that's kinder to a fish and a fisherman, which lands more fish caught in UK for UK consumption. So I don't disagree yet, surprisingly. Third, I want to see a new migration borders policy, which is fair between the EU and non-EU migrants, and assist the government in hitting targets for levels of migration. Right, that's another issue. I don't think the Conservative Party wants to reduce immigration at all. I mean, there's no way they're going to hit these targets. They never has and never will. Right. Both want to see a trade department over the current EU trade arrangements with other countries into the UK agreements to make good progress on negotiating good agreements. With more than 90% of the non-EU world does not have a trade agreement with the EU. I want the UK to offer reduced tariffs and barriers to developing countries for more market access from ourselves. Fifth, I want to see tax cuts to the areas where we could tax the most, including the abolishment or VAT on green products and domestic fuel. Six, I want to hear a global agenda, which will gain our vote and voice in other important national bodies. So actually, we're not a member of some bodies like the World Trade Organization. Just EU does it first. So what do you think about that one?
It's all right, but but the thing with the Tories is, it's just they always have an agenda, don't they?
Oh, dude, this is John Redwood we're talking about here. I wouldn't say it's trustworthy, but occasionally it puts out things like this about what. I mean, the abolition of VAT and green products. Well, I put domestic food to the side. Wait, it's essentially a good thing, but I'll get rid of VAT in most products, to be honest. Yeah. I wouldn't cut taxes anywhere else, though. Forget that. I know what you want. You want us to be a bit less like Bermuda.
I'm just reading on his blog on the 18th. Is that today? And it says that the idea for a hypothecated new health tax seems to have been dropped, which he's pleased. He explained how such a tax would not be enough on its own, how there would still be plenty of arguments about how much extra money the NHS needed, as well as the hypothecated tax, and how you cannot throttle back healthcare simply because one particular tax has fallen short. Blah, blah, blah. There will be an extra 12 billion a year available for spending and tax cuts once we terminate our payments to the EU. I'm in favour of doing this immediately after March 29th, unless the EU suddenly comes up with a good deal, which is worth letting them have a bit more of our money after we've left. And
it's all about money, isn't it, at the end of the day in negotiations?
He ends up saying it's important to grant increased spending for the NHS on the basis of something for something for something. Just granting a blanket increase could result in wasteful spending, as we saw in the big increases in the middle Labour years before they had to slash public spending generally after the crash. Right. So he's actually sort of really supporting the Tories in a way, as far as not just throwing heaps and heaps of money at the NHS, isn't he?
Yeah, but the thing is, the whole thing with the NHS is just the thing is with the NHS is that people value it so much, regardless of who they vote for. It's just sort of they just need to do it because obviously they're on the last legs, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Conservative Party didn't do it. They'd be in a lot of trouble. They've been under a ton
Yeah,
of
but I
pressure.
mean they've basically been sort of slowly sort of privatising NHS for the past 8 years, haven't they?
Well, it goes beyond that. It goes long before that as well.
Oh yeah, because Blair still had PFI, didn't he? So it was still
that was. I think actually John Major started it.
Yeah, John Major started PFI. Yeah, he did.
I mean, getting back to funding, the Lords letting the amendments through, not letting the amendments through, not sending them back on single market and the customs union, i.e. we can just come out of them, they're not prerequisites. Right, we're going to leave without staying in customs union, without staying in the single market, and somebody now needs to say exactly what we're going to do when we leave. You know, are we going to join the WTO because the EU aren't going to give us a good deal, are they?
Yeah. I don't know. I've seen, this is going off tangent a bit, and people, I don't know, I've just seen some sort of leavers. I think it was gender atypical and a couple of others saying, "Oh, we need to join the EEA so we can compromise with the Remainers." And I was just thinking, really? Come on.
Why?
Exactly. I'm just thinking, why?
Yeah, I can't see the logic in that.
It's just, we're talking about compromise, but the thing is with a lot of these Remainers, you can't compromise whatever you do anyway.
No, and the Remainers didn't and don't want to compromise with us. They're not saying, right, we can leave, but, you know, blah, blah, blah. They just really want to say we should end Brexit, the majority.
Yeah, but then again, you had, I think Jack James mentioned in the bullet chat that he had... he met Our Future, Our Choice at Labour Live or something.
Yeah. Well, they were there protesting, weren't they?
Oh yeah, with the banner.
Yeah.
Oh, I actually saw Labour Heartlands did a pro-Brexit counter banner actually.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. It's in Labour Heartlands is a Twitter / Facebook thing where they post like pro-Brexit, pro-Corbyn news. So it's quite good.
Yeah, well, I'm glad.
They sort of a counter banner, so it was quite funny.
Yeah, I think Jack said he was pleased that OFOC were protesting because it showed them up in a bad light.
It showed them who they are, really.
What Jack said, didn't he?
Yeah, because it's like, because a lot of the Corbynite, even the young, so the Corbynite Remainers, even they would be like, these people are a bit dodgy.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've only got to do what we did and look at it right from the start when they set it up as a company and blah blah blah, and then start asking young kids for the money, you know,
the money
to keep you in your lifestyle.
You said you mentioned that he had, was it like a 3-bathroom house or something?
Well, he registered his company where he was staying with his parents, and I looked it up the house, and it's 3-bathroom, 5-bedroom, great big house, and he was whinging about, oh, you know, poor me, I'm doing this out of an attic, but I don't mind. And I thought, yeah, it's probably an attic that's been fully converted into a self-contained suite. It's like, you know, don't just believe these organisations. Look at them.
A lot of these FBP, they're sort of pawns for them, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're all, and of course they love the Grieve. I don't know if you've been looking at the posts on the Grieve Amendment, but it's absolutely full of FBP.
Oh, yeah.
You know, sort of raving how great and fantastic this amendment.
And then they're like, oh, the House of Lords, they're protecting our democracy, aren't they?
Yeah. It's like, are we looking at the
wait a minute, like, like protecting your democracy. Wait a minute, like an undemocratic institution wanting us to remain in an undemocratic institution is somehow protecting our democracy. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, and if you say anything about, oh, Jacob Rees-Mogg would be great to take us out of Brexit, then they say, oh, you know, tough, you know,
then again,
this aristocrat.
They'll say he's a fascist. If you mention like Corbyn or Galloway or someone, they'll say he's a communist. You know?
Yeah, but
like,
it's okay to knock Jacob Rees-Mogg because he's rich, but they let all these House of Lords types who sit there going to sleep and whatever, you know, it's all right for them.
Part of their bigger agenda, isn't it? They support the same agenda.
No, exactly.
You know, it's like, I mean, they turn to Blair and Campbell. They turn to Blair and Campbell like literal terrorists to support their agenda, isn't it?
Yeah, they turn to anyone, don't they? Yeah, Jack's just saying that he wouldn't trust an organisation who claimed to speak on behalf of an entire age group. That's how FO said.
Oh, did you see the tweet I sent where I said an FBP was being ageist? Did you see that tweet? Where I'll send it later on the bullet chat. Where basically the FBP guy said to me, "You're very young. You still have time to learn." And I was like, "Excuse me?"
Oh yeah, I think I did.
It's very ageist. It's very ageist, isn't it? Honestly, it's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, that was the whole thing with OFOC when it first started, before the new guy took over, because Femi had actually tarnished their image.
Yeah.
It was like he went on Sky, didn't he? And actually, it was Julia Brewer, Hartley Brewer. Said to him, "You want to kill everybody off of my age."
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of hers as such, but I do like her anti-FBP stuff. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'm not in with most of her stuff, but she's spot on as far as that, and she really got him on the back foot.
I mean, it's not like with not just Julia Hartley Brewer, like let's say Mogg and Farage. I mean, they're a bit too right wing for our taste, but they're spot on when it comes to Brexit. You know, it's sort of a sort of
I think
like sort of like a frenemy, if you will.
You broke up then.
Oh, sorry, I meant like a frenemy. You know, the Hartley Brewer and Farage and those sorts of people.
Yeah, I mean, but I think too that Julia Hartley Brewer was really incensed because she's in that sort of age group. And so she was really speaking from the heart when it was sort of like, what, I'm not allowed to vote because, you know, you're young and you know better than we do.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember after the referendum when Nick Clegg was saying about a second referendum, he actually said that young people under 35 should have 2 votes.
Yeah, he did. It's like, because they're worth more than if you're, you know, once you're over 50, you've got 1 foot in the grave and you're going to die tomorrow, which is something that Remainers keep repeating all over the place.
And here's exactly, like, Jack James says, well, it's true the young are skeptical about leaving. It doesn't necessarily mean they don't respect the result, because young people, let's be honest, most of them have things like A-levels and, you know, GCSEs or whatever to worry about, whereas it's only really the rich kids who have time and money on their hands that worry about this sort of thing. That's what I've noticed.
Yeah, it is, because the others are too busy out working jobs.
Yeah, exactly, like studying or doing jobs or doing something useful with their life, you know.
Yeah, but what annoys me is that people like OFOC, the ones that seem to expect other people to crowdfund and support them to go around the country.
It doesn't make sense. Like, why would you beg people for money when you've got, what was it, that article with the 23 biggest Remain donors or something? We can ask them instead.
Yeah, but no, they're going there asking students who've got very little money.
Yeah, like I only get 500 a month, and most of that goes to living expenses. Like, I can never dream to donate to them.
No, and a lot of people would probably get less than that.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of the money that my age group gets is student finance, whereas like I'm lucky in the fact that my parents have saved up for me to go to uni, but most people get this from loans and stuff, wouldn't they?
Yeah, and I mean, someone like Femi has been to you know, almost £6,000 a term school.
Oh yeah.
His parents have
That's
paid
my
for him if
entire
it comes to that.
that's the entire living money I get a year is £6,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he expects people to keep him in a lifestyle while he goes off swanning skiing
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, and here's a question for you, Abby. He says, Jack James says, are OFOC transparent about their donors?
No, not enough. You can pick up some on, if you look at Femi's crowdfunding, there was Mike Galsworthy
Oh, yeah.
and the woman that took over from Gina Miller.
I can't remember her name.
No,
yeah,
I can't remember her name, but both of them were his sponsors when he set up crowdfunding.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, Cameron. I'm gonna do this. Like totally. Thank you. It's such a good idea.
I put a fake email address in this now. It must be real, actually. I put freeroman@gmail.com. Now that must be an email address if that went through.
Email address. Get notified. Where do I join? Where's this join page?
Oh, you can join the OFOC.
Yeah, I'm gonna troll them. I'm gonna troll them.
I'm literally looking at the manifesto, which is basically awful. Reading this.
Well, tell you what, they don't. When you go on and you say anything that registers Gates, which I did, and you know, Gerard, he and I got stuck into them together.
Look, our solution is path,
and they ended up there.
Yeah.
We're not.
Oh, the founders. Yeah, they have 5 of them. They have Femi, and then you've got Lara Spirit, of course. Yeah, the person that said she wanted the United States of Europe.
Yeah, but when he first set up the company, he only put his name on it.
Oh.
He set it up as a company, and there was only him listed as the director. Then they put in an amendment, and they took in, is it Will, someone or other?
Bill Dry. Yeah, he emailed me once when I asked him about the interview. Actually, he actually emailed me.
Yeah, they're
yeah, and he said it's official OFOC policy to not support the United States of Europe, and I was like, bullshit.
Yeah, and also that Femi is 28. He's not some young kid.
Yeah.
He was trying to make out he was this young student, and he wasn't.
I mean, if you look at him, he doesn't look young, does he?
Well, he's not.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a 28-year-old that's never held a job for anything longer, except for working for that shonky church for a year. Yeah. He's never held a job.
Is he meant to be like a lawyer?
Yeah, he was. Didn't he work for the Parliament or something? Manifesto. I'm going to have a look at this shonky manifesto.
He did a law degree. Then he went to France and did EU law for a year. Yeah. But he's never ever he went to work for a solicitor for a month.
He did languages and law, didn't he? I think. French and EU law, I think.
Yeah, but he never took his articles. He's not a qualified lawyer. He's got a law degree, but that doesn't entitle you to practice law.
Yeah. Oh my God! I'm having a look at the first paragraph, and it says, if Parliament revoke Article 50, that'd be seen as undemocratic, but that's what they want to do with the people's vote.
Yeah, actually, has anyone heard what happened? They had the second, they went back to the court, didn't they? You know, Gina Miller.
Oh, yeah. I heard, didn't they do it recently? The hashtag A50 challenge, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that was about 2 weeks ago. I think. Well, they've been very quiet, so I don't know if it got chucked out.
Yeah. 73% of young people voted to remain. First of all, I mean, only 64% of young people actually wanted to vote. So where's your argument? Like, most people, let's be honest, they didn't care. And when it didn't go their way, they whinged on social media, didn't they? Exactly.
And as I said, when I was in...
We're overwhelmingly pro-EU, and yet our country is continuing on its current isolationist path regardless.
Oh, dear. I mean, when I went, now I'm in a university town, and when they had the anti-Brexit march, I was surprised just how few students there were on that march. It was nearly all.
What I love with the fact here is huge distraction from the real issues, when in fact they're distracting from the real issues themselves, aren't they?
Oh no, they're just you know, I mean, it's like Gina Miller, Mike Galsworthy, none of them have said how much money they've received from Soros.
Yeah, I've been creating. Well, Cameron, is it alright if I share my screen? I'm gonna do some FBP, you know, joining their campaign. Do you mind pinning me so you can have a look? You still there?
Yeah, it's alright.
Sure, just pin me so I can just fill out this bloody form. You see that? Yeah, I'm gonna do caps lock. FBPE. Waton. ABTV. What's the other one? OFOC. Ah, I can't do any more. Probably do People's Vote. Let's see if I can fit that in. Ah, I can't. I'll just do OFOC instead. OFOC. I can't. Caps lock. Ramona. God. What else? Ramona fucktard. 4-year-old. There we are. Ramona twat. What's the day? 29. Oh, it's 29th. What? 2/9/3/19, isn't it? The leaving date. Gmail.com. Let's have a look.
I forget.
Yeah, it's 29th of March 2019.
19.
So
yeah.
I've got FBPE, Waton, ABTV, OFOC, Ramona fucktard 4-year-old, and I put Ramona twat 29319 @gmail.com. So let's see what happens. Oh, you encountered a problem. Please scroll down to review. Name first is not valid. Valid names contain only letters, numbers, spaces, or characters. Damn it! I'm gonna have to remove these hashtags, but that's fine, regardless. Yeah, I'll remove all these hashtags then. That's fine. I still get the idea. But how about we all do this? How about we can just run some sort of campaign for everyone to sign up to this and have dodgy names?
I think you need to be a bit more subtle so that it actually gets on there.
All right.
You know, like sort of Mr. Missing Brain or something like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Tony Blair fan.
Yeah. How about Brainless Twit?
Yeah. I'd rather put twat instead of twit, but you get the idea.
What?
Yeah, BP, OFOC, People's Vote, yeah, Ramona fucktard 4-year-old, Whinger. I can't do a Whinger, that's fine. 4-year-old's fine. FBP, People's Vote, Ramona twat 29319, that should work. Yay, it worked! Brilliant! Oh, God. See what happens.
Oh.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I should like tell in our group chat with like Luke. I think I should tell Luke to do this too.
Yeah, but you know what? You should have set up a Hotmail account or something so you could actually get emails from them.
I'm going to do that after the stream. Like, after I go back to maybe when I go back home, I'm going to set up a Hotmail so I can get notifications and then maybe stream what I get.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's why, but on that one, you want to be more circumspect. Do another one.
I'll probably
because
do.
Otherwise it won't. They won't send it.
Yeah, and instead of maybe on the next one, I put Tony Blair, our Lord and Savior.
No, I think you need one that sounds like a person,
Yeah.
so that it mixes in with your Hotmail account,
Yeah.
and then you
Yeah.
can
Or
see if
instead
they
of
ask you.
I could put Tony Blair, but instead of I could put Y in his last name.
Yeah, or Tony Blairite or something like.
Yeah. Yeah.
How
Yeah.
about
Tory
what
B.
about
Yeah.
Toady Blair?
Toady.
Toady
Yeah.
Blairite.
No, I call him Tory B. Liar. That's what I'm
Yeah,
going
well, there you go. Put that.
Tory B. Liar. Yeah. But
Yeah.
he is.
And then see if they ask you for money.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll say, oh, I'll call my friends at JP Morgan and they'll give you some money.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
No, you should say,
Yeah.
I'll ask my mate Soros.
Yeah. No, I'll ask my mate, what's his name? Richard Branson. That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I might head off soon, and I think my tummy's rumbling a bit. I'm looking forward to this chocolate brownie crepe that I'm going to have in a minute. So, yeah, I've decided from your advice that I'm going to go and have dessert for lunch. So,
Right. It's not I'm not forcing you to have it.
no, but I asked my parents, and they were like, "Yeah, it's your money. You do what you want."
You make yourself sick if you want to.
Yeah, but to be fair though, they're like, "Oh, you need to gain a bit of weight." So, yeah.
Yeah. No, well, it sounds nice.
Yeah. Maybe prank call them on the live stream. Oh my God, I'll have to do that. Jack, I'm gonna buy a few Skype minutes on Skype, and then maybe do like a, like one of the screen recording of those, on Skype, and then I could